Blanche almost wants to laugh. So, because her parents don't like the man that she wants to marry, they've locked her in this room. These people. How long do they plan to keep her in this room anyway? Maybe a few days, a week. She doesn't know it yet, but she's not getting out of that room for the next 25 years. Blanche Monnier was a well known French socialite in Poitiers. In 1876, she fell in love with a lawyer, and her mother said nope, he wasn't rich enough. So her mother locked her in the attic until she came to her senses. Except she never let Blanche out again. For 25 years, Blanche lived in darkness. She was fed through a hole in the door. Neighbors later they admitted that they sometimes heard screams, but this was a powerful family and nobody dared to ask questions. Then in 1901, an anonymous letter reached the Paris Attorney General, and the letter said that a woman had been locked up for 25 years in that house. So the police raided the house, and when they opened the attic door, the stench that hit them, rot, waste, it smelled like death. Blanche was found naked on a filthy mattress that was covered in insects. She was weighing like 25 kilos at most. She shielded her eyes from the light when the door opened. She hadn't seen so much light since her 20s. Her mother was immediately arrested, but she died 2 weeks later. Blanche's brother claimed that no, Blanche chose to stay in that room. Of course, nobody believed that excuse. Blanche spent the rest of her life in hospital care, and she died in 1913. Her story became known in France as the woman who disappeared upstairs. Fast forward to Los Angeles, 1970. A frail 13-year-old girl, she walks into a welfare office with her mother. She can barely walk. She can't speak. She flinches at everything. Her name is not released publicly, so the world calls her Jeannie. Jeannie had spent her entire childhood locked in a small bedroom. Her father had tied her to a potty chair for hours every day, and he beat her if she made any noise. He wanted silence, so she grew up in silence. When the authorities investigated, they found out that she had been isolated since she was a toddler. She had never learned to speak, never learned to chew. She didn't know how to play. Her father was charged with abuse, but he took his own life before trial, leaving a note. In the note, he said the world would never understand. Psychologists, they saw Jeannie as a scientific miracle. They wanted to use her to test whether language can be learned after early childhood had passed. She learned some words, blue, mother, door, but never full sentences. When funding ended, she was moved through some foster homes. Some were abusive again. But today she lives under state care in California. Her exact location is private. And before you say, well, that's abroad, it can't happen in Africa. No. In 2019, in Kaduna, Nigeria, police raided a so-called Islamic reform school. They found over 300 boys and men chained by their ankles. Some were as young as 5. Others had whip marks on their backs. They had been told it was for discipline to make them better Muslims. Police said many had been used and dehumanized. Some captives were not even Nigerian. They had been trafficked in from Ghana, Mali, Burkina Faso. When police officers stormed the building, they found rows of boys sitting on the floor, chains still attached to like heavy metal rims. The smell of sweat, blood, rust, urine in the whole room. 7 men claimed to be teachers and they were arrested. The state government moved the victims to a stadium for food and medical care while trying to reunite them with their families. That raid exposed a larger problem. Hundreds more were rescued from similar schools across northern Nigeria in the weeks that followed. But the problem with that is that they were returned to their families. It was the same families who had enrolled them in these schools, and some of these families knew exactly what was happening. So I don't know if that was the solution, returning them to their homes. Different countries, different reasons, a mother's pride, a father's fear, a teacher's twisted sense of control. But the pattern is always the same. People who claim that they are protecting children while slowly destroying them from the inside. The question is, how far is too far before love turns into captivity and something completely dangerous? Thank you so much for watching this story. If you like stories like this, please follow me. I tell them all the time on all my social media. Thank you.